All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Captain Cody Davis here with you guys yet again for another one. And here's the deal, guys. It is officially the month of March. Today is March, well, it's March 16th. We are already halfway through the month of March, which is insane to think about and even crazier to say. I had no idea we were already that far through, but we are. And what this means is this is officially my favorite time to be out on the water fishing, and not just for bass out here on Lake Okeechobee or really any of the other South Florida waterways for that matter, but everything and anything that swims in South Florida is firing off this time of year. Whether you want to be offshore fishing for pelagics like kingfish, mahi, sailfish, blackfin tuna, you name it, everything on our offshore fishery is going off. Inshore, for snook and tarpon, the water starts warming up and they get happy. Great time to come down for them. Or if you want to come down and take part in our exotic species fishery for snakeheads or peacock bass, clown knifefish, that type of deal, no better time to do that. I will be taking part in each and every one of those fisheries here over the next couple of months. Really between, like I said, I don't know if I already said it, between now and the first 2 weeks of June. It's just an awesome time to be a South Florida resident, and you could just, not only are the fish, certain fish around and changing behavior, but they're biting. I mean, it's an awesome time of year, and I get excited for it every year. But we're going to be talking about bass fishing out here on Lake Okeechobee and what it means to be out here the next couple of months. Basically, what I tell people is we don't have seasons down here in South Florida. We have winter and summer. And at some times of the year, you might experience both of those seasons twice in the same week. All right, we don't really have a fall or a spring. What I mean by that is officially it's spring, but it was already 91 degrees at my house today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so it basically just jumps right from winter to summer. And what happens out here on the lake is it's kind of a perfect storm. You've got rising water temperatures, consistently just rising throughout the next couple of months every day. And then you have lowering water levels on the lake. They're obviously letting some water out of the lake right now, preparing for the dry season, or the rainy season, I'm sorry. I don't think we're going to get as low of a lake as we would intend. I'm not even going to get into that whole topic right now, but either way, it's just, it's still going to be, in my opinion, the best time to be down here. And what happens is we're still going to have waves of spawning bass moving up shallow to do their thing and spawn, but what it comes down to it is a large majority of our fish have already spawned. They've already done the deal up shallow. And what they turn into are bluegill assassins, especially when you're talking about the big ones this time of year. Essentially, these big females have already gone up. They've laid their eggs. And now what they're kind of doing is staging, waiting on these big waves of bluegill to move up into these hard spots, these shallow water bays, for them to spawn coming up on the new and full moons over the next couple of months. And there is not a better time to be on the water to fish for these giant fish. You know, these big bass that were pre-spawn, that were pressured while the snowbirds were down here. You know, all of us guys were super busy. All the major tournaments are down here. The water temperatures are low. Florida bass are very fickle during that time of year when the water temps are in the high 50s to the mid 60s, low 60s, I should say. And you really have to finesse, fish slow, take your time, and be methodical with your presentation. Those same fish turn into just aggressive, hungry, mean, shallow water fish. They get up there around these bluegill and they are ready to eat. Okay, not as many people on the water. For some reason, a lot of people don't want to deal with the heat, but us locals live for this time of year, and it shows. I mean, there's no pressure, and the fishing is phenomenal. What we're going to be talking about today is there's really no better bait for catching bluegill targeting fish, being bass, than a big frog down here. You know, who doesn't love throwing a frog? Everyone loves throwing a frog all over the country. But I'm sure this plays in other fisheries throughout the country, I'm sure. But down here, I tell all my guys, you in no means, shape, or form are you trying to imitate a frog, an actual frog, while you're throwing a frog on Lake Okeechobee. You're trying to make it look like a brim or a bluegill. And that can mean a bunch of different things, right? Because we are in South Florida. You know, you go throughout the country, you've got bluegill. Here we've got bluegill, crappie, or speck, shell crackers, tilapia, Mayan cichlids. There's a whole bunch of different species of fish that fit into that panfish category, and they're all up shallow doing the same thing. Aside from crappie or speck, you know, they kind of spawn in a different way. But the tilapia, the Mayan cichlids, the shell crackers, and the bluegill are all up shallow in that same group, getting demolished by these bass. And there's a couple of reasons why a popping style frog does such a good job at imitating a dying or an injured brim or bluegill. But one of the biggest things that I believe is why it's so deadly is because it's got the big panfish profile, okay? But more importantly, when you're talking about fishing for a bass over 5 pounds, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds, on a lake like Lake Okeechobee that gets fished 365 days a year, you're dealing with a very educated and a very smart fish, all right? These fish are smart. Although they are very aggressive, they can be very smart. And right away, one thing you have on your side with this bait is that it's a top water presentation. It floats. Okay, so no matter what, that fish is not going to get a very good look at your bait, obviously, because he's just looking up underneath it and seeing the silhouette. So that plays in your favor. It's a big profile, right? I mean, it's a big style bait, so that's what they're up there looking for. They're looking to just eat once, maybe twice a day. I don't know the digestive system of a bass, how it works, but they want to get up there. They're not out there trying to school and exert a lot of energy chasing shad around. There are fish doing that. That's the other thing that makes this time of year cool. You can catch fish doing whatever you want to do. You can go out there, catch them on a trap, catch them on a spook, spinnerbait, chatterbait, catch schoolers. You can catch big fish doing that. But if you want to use 65-pound braid, a heavy action rod, get up shallow and go pull on some, you can go do that down here. And you're fishing for the big kind of singled out, isolated fish. I call them the big biker chicks. They're just big, mean, or they got big scars on them. They're all banged up. That's what you're looking for up shallow. No offense to any biker women that are watching my videos. But yeah, anyway, so these things are, a poppin' frog is a great presentation for that. And it's got the big profile. And one thing that I tell people when they're throwing this frog, and not to let any secrets out of the bag, but I've said it in a lot of other videos, it's all about the pause. A lot of people think you're throwing a big popping frog, you're trying to walk it, you're trying to make it shimmy, whatever. It's all about a big pop and letting the bait sit. And I think a big reason why letting the bait sit still for a few seconds at a time is such a big deal, and I've said this in other videos, is because of these tassels and these skirts that come out of these frogs, all right? When a panfish of any size, I'm saying a panfish, a brim, any of those species I've named is injured, I've seen it many a times. I've watched, brim species in and around boat docks as I was a kid and watched them interact with these big bass. One thing that they'll do, even whether they're injured, if they're fleeing from a bass, or if they're just trying to, in a certain way, spook a bass off of their bed and keep them from coming through there, is they'll put their pec fins, their dorsal fins, everything up. They'll spread them out to make themselves appear bigger, come off as a bigger target to these bass. And to me, I feel like when you pop this frog and stop it in the water, when you pop the bait, all of these tassels will pull together on the pop, and as you let it sit, they spread out. And to me, I feel like that's what triggers those big ones into eating it. It just they come off as it comes off as a bigger profile, like it's a brim trying to, not intimidate, but shy a bass away from trying to eat it, and that just pisses them off more, and they crush these things. I mean, you can see this one. This guy had a rough day the other day. Okay. But the real whole point of this video, what I wanted to get to, is I get a lot of questions about frogs and what color I like to use while fishing out here on Lake Okeechobee. I want to start off by saying I'm going to tell you the way I approach it. There are a ton of frog fishermen on this lake that literally make a living using this bait. They have caught way bigger fish and bigger bags than I'll probably ever catch in my life. A couple of them are really good buddies of mine. And this is their deal. This is what they do. They have perfected this technique. And they might listen to this and think I'm an idiot, and that's fine. I'm just telling you how I approach it and kind of some things that work for me. And so when it comes to colors, There's a billion different colors of frogs. Also, I do want to point out here on Okeechobee, we're primarily talking about a popping style frog. We're not walking our frogs over cheese mats or grass mats. We don't have them. We're essentially open water frogging. We're kind of fishing edges and things. So that big pop has a lot of calling power, throws a lot of water, and I think it just really, at the end of the day, kind of pisses the big bass off. So we're primarily talking about a popping frog here. But when it comes to colors, there's a billion different ones. And I'm not a color guy. I'm just really not, okay? You guys see there's tons of different ones here. This is actually the box that I carry in my boat all year. I mean, I don't even know exactly what's in here because I haven't really opened it over the last couple days, but that's it, okay? That's what I got. So here's the deal. I've got, you guys can see I am a big fan of black, and I'll kind of get into why. Okay, I've got a lot of the black popping frogs. I've got this new Gambler, like a bluegill purple color, which I really like. It looks pretty, it looks cool. You got like a killer gill color here. Got some kind of sungill, spro. But I truly think that color is kind of overrated with frogs, at least on our lake here. And it may be overrated all throughout the country. But a big reason why I think a color doesn't really matter as much on Lake Okeechobee specifically is because of what I just mentioned with the different species of sunfish, panfish, whatever you want to categorize them as, that we have here in the lake. That bass may swim up onto a bed, all right? And when we say bluegill beds or brim beds, some of these beds are, I mean, they range. Some of them are the size of a pool table, some of them the size of a living room. And on that bed, you may have shellcrackers, tilapia, Mayan cichlids, and brim or bluegill mixed in, all spawning on that same little area. So Mayan cichlids are orange and black. Bluegill turn 100 different colors when they're fired up and spawning. Tilapia can be white, they could be gray, they could be gold. So when that fish moves up there, there's all different colors and all different species of fish that fish is ambushing. So you're not trying to match an exact color to something. Whereas maybe if you were on Gunnersville, when you're fishing bluegill beds, all the bluegill may take on a very similar color. Here, they're all types of different colors, shades, and species for that matter. So I think that's one thing people don't think about when they're choosing a color of their popping frog. So I keep that in the back of my head, and I really don't think it matters. Now, there are certain situations where they may get on a bite where they do like a certain color for whatever reason. Maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's the watercolor, it shows out better. Also we can mention a white frog, a bright white frog in some stained or overcast conditions, stained water or overcast conditions, maybe where you have a lot of shad around. Obviously, that's going to make a difference. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. But when you're talking about just getting up shallow around brim beds, I'm not a big color guy. Use what works for you. Use what you have confidence in. Again, there's probably people watching this saying you're an idiot, that, when it's this, you need to use this color. That's fine. But confidence is key. I'm going to give you one little story real quick. In a tournament that I fished last summer, it was a one-man deal, and I was on some frog or some brim-eating fish. So we was targeting them, flipping a jig, throwing a big swim jig, and throwing a frog. And the first day, they were really eating the frog. There was a competitor right outside of me. Jared McMillan was, he was putting on a clinic, okay? I had a good bag at one point, but he was 100 yards from me, and I could still hear these fish crushing his frog. They were crushing it. And as mentally tough as I am, when you're seeing someone just catch 5.5 pounders and literally just take them off without even looking at them, and toss them back and fire back out there, like he's catching fish, he's got big fish, I know it, and he's on them out there. It was a little bit frustrating, I guess, and I started second guessing myself. I knew he was throwing a frog, so obviously I kind of stopped getting bit on the jig. So I'd be lying if I said, what was happening in his boat was not affecting me in some way. I said, all right, they're looking up. It was perfect conditions for a frog, so I picked my frog rod up. And I have a lot of confidence in black. As you guys can see, I've got just tons and tons of black frogs here, and I'll get into why in a minute. But I knew, I was almost 100% certain that he was throwing like a killer gill color, because listen, it's no secret, this is kind of like an industry standard, is a Spro. I don't even have one, but this is a Gambler version, but like a Spro or a Gambler killer gill color. It's just an all-around good color. And I figured that's what he was throwing. I could get a small glimpse of it when he was casting. And I don't remember if I even had one in the boat, but I know I had a black frog tied on. And I have a lot of confidence in it. And in the back of my mind, I kept saying, I need to tie on a killer gill. And I don't remember, like I said, if I was too lazy to just sit down and cut and tie a 5-wrap uni knot and start fishing again with a killer gill on, or if I didn't have one in the boat. And it was bothering me. I was fishing fast. I wasn't fishing. I wasn't fishing my bait with the right cadence that I knew I should. I almost felt like I had to play catch up, and I was trying to make them eat a bait that in the back of my mind I kind of wasn't having confidence in anymore. About 20 minutes later, a good friend of mine comes fishing down the boat lane, and he jacks 2 or 3 big ones. All right, he's out fun fishing. Him and his girlfriend. He sees me. He has no idea there's a tournament going on. It was a big payout tournament, but it was only 9 boats in it. All right, but it was a $1,000 entry fee. So essentially, I'm fishing for like $6 grand. So I get up to him, and I watch him catch 3 or 4 big fish. Like his girlfriend's taking pictures of him, and they're eating a frog. I could hear him eating it. I'm watching him pop his rod, and I'm like, I messed up. I don't have the right color frog today. And he gets up to me. He's like, what are you doing, man? I said, fishing a tournament. He goes, oh, man, I'm sorry. I'll turn around and leave. I said, oh, you're good. There's only a couple of us in here. He goes, well, you're throwing what they're eating. And I look on his rod, and all those big fish he had caught were on a black popping frog. And immediately right then I said, they will eat it. And I continued to catch 3 more giant ones on the popping frog. And I weighed in just under 30 pounds that day. But it took me, like, the color didn't matter. But to me, it mattered while he's out there catching fish, and I wasn't for that 15 minutes. And it mentally spun me out. Whereas my buddy Kyle just had a black frog on. He's not in a tournament. He's just fun fishing, and he jacks, 4 for 26 pounds in front of me on the black frog. I get confidence, start fishing the bait the way I should have been fishing it the whole time. Giving it those hard pops, fishing slowing my boat down, and I had great success, okay? So I think confidence is just a big thing. Obviously, there's going to be little deals and little situations where colors might matter, but for the most part, you can get away with really any color you want. To me, as long as it's a dark color. It's kind of stupid anyway. Like my partner Kelly says, all this top color stuff is for us. They don't see it. All they see is the bottom. And you also got to remember, when you're dealing with high sun, when they're looking up at it, it could be 100 different colors. When that sun's shining down on that bait and this is hidden from the sun essentially, they're really just getting that silhouette. They're just seeing a dark silhouette up there. And that's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of of a black frog, is because it's going to throw more of a silhouette. Okay, and with that being said, when you're dealing with a very big, educated fish, I feel like when they swim up to that frog, there's part of them that doesn't, because it's so dark and black, they can't tell what it is. They might, they don't, there's times where sometimes they might not think it's a bluegill. I say, the reason I throw black is because if you ever injure a big bluegill, same thing with tilapia, a cichlid, they will lose all their color and they get darkened up. A sick or dying bluegill will almost turn black. If you've ever been bluegill fishing, you gut hook a bluegill and you have to like rip a hook out of their throat and they die, they lose all their color. Okay, so as they're losing color, they'll turn dark. I like that because I'm trying to imitate a dark or a dying or injured brim. Another thing people don't think about, and this is something that sounds kind of stupid, but in the springtime, when the water's low and the water's clear, we get a lot of these oriole birds. I think they're called Baltimore Orioles. They're a little black bird. And these bass do eat them. I've caught them many a times with them in their throat. I've caught them in tournaments where I didn't see it, but when I went to clean my boat the next day, there were feathers in my live well. I caught a fish 2 weeks ago on a guide trip on a black frog, and the only reason I picked it up was because there was an oriole eating chizzywinks off of a cattail, bouncing around on the head, and there were boils coming up underneath the bird. I fired the black frog in there. I never got to pop it. As soon as it hit the water, this fish crushed it. It was like a 4-pounder. So I think that it imitates a little. That's a very small little sliver of the pie when that presentation takes place, but it doesn't hurt. And then I think there's a big portion that they don't know what it is. They're not sure, but a bass don't have hands. You don't have glasses. The only way for him to find out is to eat it. So I'm a big fan of dark colors, like you guys know, and I think that's a big reason why. It's the silhouette, and they can't get a good look at it because it's just essentially a black silhouette. Whether I'm flipping, throwing a frog, throwing a swim jig, I like it. So that's yeah. I mean, there's 100 different colors. Use what works for you. That's why I'm a big fan of black. But I mean, you guys see. I mean, this is a gorgeous color that Valet Gambler came up with, like this darker purple. This is a new one. This one's been trashed, but I mean, that looks amazing. That's a sexy looking color. Obviously Killer Gill. And then, you know, all the Spros and stuff. I mean, this is a very popular one. This like a reddier color. But I'm here to I have not seen a very big difference. I've had like my buddy Matt, my buddy Chris, they'll tell me, oh, they really want this color today. And they might. They very well might. It might be a situation where color does matter, but it also could just be they got bit on that frog that morning. The fish choked it. Now they're fishing it with confidence, and that's in turn giving them more bites. So that's the color. That's my outlook on color. Just some things to look at or keep in mind. I mean, like I said, you can see I've got a couple different colors here in my box, but I've got, you know, 7 black ones ready to go. And I try to keep it simple. Bass fishing is 90% mental. I don't care what anyone says. Okay, it really truly is. Going back to that example I just gave you with my buddy. If my buddy wouldn't have come down that boat trail that day, there's no telling. You know, I mean, I may have figured it out eventually, but that helped me figure out the situation, you know, that it was a mental spin out moment and I just needed to calm down a lot quicker. So I try to keep it simple. I try not to give myself that many options. And I like to just tell myself, listen, it's Lake Okeechobee. You know, our conditions don't change that much throughout the course of a 365-day year. So if they ate it then, they'll eat it now. And whether that works or not, whether that's stupid or not, I don't know. But that's what works for me. So listen, this isn't a sales pitch. This isn't, you know, me trying to force you guys down here. This is legitimately one of the coolest and best times to come down. You may come down here and strike out. That's not what I'm saying. But if you hit it right, if you want to come down here, just target big ones up shallow and get a big frog bite. From now through early June is the best time. The end of May last year is when we had that record-setting Rollins event. 20 bags over 30 pounds. That's 100 bass, and I'm willing to bet, and I talked to a lot of people, 70 of those 100 came on a popping style frog. And yeah, come down. If you want to come down and flip a big jig or flip a big creature, beaver bait in the reeds and pull on them, now's the time. And also, like I said, there's a lot of different bites happening, so we can go and you have a chance catching schoolers, catching them on a chatterbait, but this is the best bite in town for sure, and without a doubt the most fun. So yeah, I'm real quick. This isn't. I guess it's kind of a plug, but I am a big fan of the Gambler frog. I've been having great success with it. It's soft. My hookup ratio is fantastic. The hooks aren't as thick gauge as some of the other frogs, but I have not opened one up. It comes with the shiny stuff in the tinsel in the skirt already. Has a good pop. Got rattles. Definitely check them out. But that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think I'm an idiot and color does matter. Let me know if there's any situations like that you've had. Leave a comment below. And I hate to even ask this, but do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And here's the deal. Also, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate, seriously, I really can't tell you how much it means to me, all the positive feedback I've gotten just on my channel. And just seriously, thank you to all of you that have reached out and booked trips with me here over the last, well, really ever, but over the last few months. It's been very busy. It's been an extremely busy season. I'm super blessed, but the amount of people and friendships I consider that I've made over the last few months has been awesome. I've been coming home in a good mood. It's hot. The weather's kind of, you know, crappy when it's hot, or it's windy, blowing 30 mile an hour. But the company on the boat's been great. And just the positive feedback I've gotten from the channel and the people that have found me and gone fishing with me it's literally the coolest thing ever. So that's it. I got some stuff coming down the pipe. I do have a couple of videos in the can already from fishing, but I'm waiting to post those for a few different reasons. We've got the Jimmy McMillan Memorial Tournament. Good time to plug that, right? Jimmy was, in all intents and purposes, probably the best angler we'll ever see on Lake Okeechobee. This guy was, you know, I never got a chance to meet Jimmy, but I'm part of his family now, and I don't think I've ever met a person or ran into a person that had a negative thing to say about the guy. Just a phenomenal person and a phenomenal angler for sure. Probably the best Lake Okeechobee we'll ever see. We have his memorial tournament this Saturday. I believe it's this Saturday. Yeah, it says 16th. So yeah, I believe it's this Saturday out of Torrey Island Boat Ramp at Slim's. Come fish it. It's for a good cause. They raise money for, I believe, some kind of the schooling here in town. I don't even remember. I should, but I don't. But come support. I'm going to obviously be fishing it. I'm going to be filming it. Not sure who I'm fishing with yet, but this is one of those tournaments that I just somehow a lot of the times do fairly good in. Some of my biggest bags I've ever caught have come in this tournament. I won the tournament. Did I win it last year? Was it last year? 2 years ago. No, I'm sorry. Here's a perfect plug. I actually didn't fish this event last year. It fell on my son's first birthday. I was unable to attend. 12 bags over 30 pounds in that tournament. The year before it, I was fortunate enough to win. I always just do very well in this event. And the fish just seem to always bite on Okeechobee in the event. And it's probably because of who the tournament's being thrown for, I believe. So come check it out. Come fish. If you guys want to come book a trip, or you want to book a trip, shoot me a text message. The amount of spam calls I get each and every day, it's alarming. It's crazy. My phone's gone off 3 times today. I don't know what's going on. I don't answer my phone. Shoot me a text that you're looking to book a trip, and I'll get right back to you as soon as possible. Again, if you have questions on the frogs or anything, would I throw it on anything, leave it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate all of you, and I will see you guys on the next one. Tight lines, and definitely take your time and be safe out there. Later, guys.